Let's bring in weatherbell.com meteorologist Joe Bastardi. Good to see you, Joe.
Well, nice to be here. So let me ask this question. The wind gust 1954 on this day at Block Island, Rhode Island, from a Category 2 Hurricane Carol. This is the anniversary of Carol. Hit 135 miles an hour, which is 3 miles an hour higher than the highest reported wind gust at Aransas Pass, where this went ashore. Was Carol climate change? Or how about Celia in 1970 hit Corpus Christi? 161 mile an hour winds at Aransas Pass. 29 mile an hour wind higher than this. Was that climate change? Or let's bring in Carla in 1961. 170 mile an hour wind gusts, hurricane force winds on the entire Texas coast. Was that climate change? Was Donna in 1960 hurricane force winds from Florida all the way to Maine? Never happened before, never has happened since. Was that climate change? How about Indianola, Texas, wiped out in 1886 by a 922 millibar hurricane? Was that climate change? Folks, this is unbelievable and despicable what these people are doing. Back on Monday, most of them were just watching the eclipse, having no idea, when a lot of us were already updating our clients. We have a lot of energy clients in the Gulf of Mexico saying this is coming, this is going to explode. It was just a wave still east of the Yucatan. So we're sitting out on a limb, and then I have to hear after that it's climate change, especially when the Weather Bell preseason forecast, folks, you go look at it May 12th, said the major hurricane hit drought would end this year. The Northwest Gulf had better look out. It would be a high-impact year. You know why? Because we lined up past years that looked like this, and we found out that without CO2, you can have hurricane hits on the eastern seaboard and all across the area. And I mentioned the eastern seaboard because we're worried about that in about 10 days from Irma. You
know, Joe, here's the thing. You know, the debate can be had about developers coming into floodplains and developing, turning floodplains with prairie grass that had prairie grass there into parking lots, paving over, and it's easier for the water to rush in. But, getting back to what the members of the media is saying, this megastorm is the fault of Republicans. I mean, Harvey hit everyone of all political stripes, creeds, and cultures. And even Republicans, Dick Cheney, John McCain, George Pataki, they say, yeah, there's global warming. So, I'm not sure why we're having this debate right now, and we should just be focusing on helping people there.
Well, we should be, but no one denies that the earth warms, and then it cools, and then it warms, and then it cools. It's just how much is man contributing to it. I'm one of these guys that do understand that if you're going to pave a lot of the places over, guess what? The water's going to rise. You take what they've done around Newark compared to 30, 40 years ago. They've paved a lot of that particular area, so you don't have the natural marshlands that you did. So when Sandy came in, the water is higher. You look what the way they build around Texas. You go to the woodlands, they keep the skinny Texas pines sticking up there. Those trees fall over every 50, 60 years, and they're going to fall into houses. So, yeah, there is an aspect. You can't take a step without leaving a track, but the question is, do you adapt to it? My good friend Alex Epstein, who wrote The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels, it's a great book if you want to read it. Do you adapt to the conflict and progress with it, or do you sit there and go back to the Stone Age? So, yeah, there's the choice.
Let's get to these other storm systems. There seem to be two. One is hugging. It looks like it could hug and wrap around the Texas coast again. We don't know when that's going to hit. You can tell us, I guess. And then Irma is rapidly intensifying into a 115-mile-per-hour Cat 3 Atlantic hurricane. What can you tell us about that? Who should be concerned about Irma?
Well, Irma, first of all, the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. This could be a major test if this comes right at them, and if by Sunday, I think if the administration understands that this may make a direct hit on the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. Of course, we got that big refinery in the Virgin Islands also, as far as business aspects. Perhaps trying to get equipment and recovery items in there before the fact might be a good idea. Once it gets past Puerto Rico and Hispaniola, it's got the Bahamas, and then it may come all the way to the southeastern part of the United States. By the way, I'm not trying to, Monday morning quarterback, but this pattern was so well telegraphed. For folks that follow me on Twitter and on Weatherbell, what I did on Weatherbell was I set this up 2 to 3 weeks ago. There's a certain kind of pattern that takes place. We call it the Madden-Julian oscillation. And when it gets into phase 2, you have a lot of cool weather in the eastern and central part of the United States, warmth in the west, and the tropics literally light up. Well, good news is that after this burst goes by, there may be 2 or 3 more storms. It may calm down, let's say after September 10th or 11th, as far as new storm development. But the fact of the matter is, this is not mysterious as far as the general details, folks. It's just a matter of trying to get those details right. And Irma has the look of a classic major Atlantic hurricane. You're going to watch the track bend south of west over the next 3 to 4 days. And, you know, when I went to Penn State, and my meteorology professor, Dr. John Lee, used to always talk about that. When a storm is coming into and then bending its path to the left a little bit more, they generally become very powerful. And Irma's going to be very powerful, maybe a threat.
That's good information. Joe Bastardi, we love having you on. Come back soon, please.